Yeah, let me tell you about what Becky handed out. We gathered a variety of things for you from the library. There's a bookmark that sort of touches on all the different services that we offer. There's a brochure that says Join the Friends, which is about the Friends of the Library. Unlike the Park District, most libraries have a Friends group, which is a separate 501c3 that exists simply for the purpose of supporting the library, raising funds to support the library, providing volunteer hours for the library, that sort of thing. And so one of the board members is selected to be the liaison to the Friends of the Library. And that group, after having fallen off for some years, is starting to revitalize, and they're in maybe their second or third year, and going great guns. So that's a really exciting thing that's going on. There's a general brochure there that's about the new building, which is now 2 years old. But, we still think of it as new. There is a copy of our newsletter, which goes out every 2 months to every household in LaGrange. So that's the January one. It'll come out in March. Most of you have probably already seen it, but it does give you an idea of the different types of programs that are going on for kids, teens, and adults. And then the last thing there is hot off the presses. You are the first to see the printed copy of our strategic plan. It's this one here. It was adopted by the board in October or November. I can't remember. And so we are getting ready to put it on our website, and it'll be published in a number of different forms. But it does talk about the process that we went to. Becky sort of alluded to doing the community surveys. We did interviews with a number of community members, from Liz Asperger and Bob Philipson to District 102 and 105 to Methodist preschool, and we tried to get community nurse and everybody
to the hospital.
So we did some individual interviews with them. That the board members did all of those interviews. We did have the survey that was mailed to every household, and we did some focus groups to get some more in-depth information. And so that's all talked about in here, how we went about getting all that
8 hours in the middle of summer, too.
On a Saturday.
No,
yes.
It was a weekday.
Oh, that's right. It was
a Wednesday.
Yes. And so the board and a team of staff members have created this 5-year strategic plan, and we're really looking forward now to starting to implement it. So this will give you a lot of information about where we see the library going in the next 5 years or so. Given that we now have a great building, what are we going to do with it? And we really wanted to get a lot of community input on that. I certainly had plenty of ideas. Becky had plenty of ideas about what we wanted to do, but we wanted to know what really the community was looking for.
And we're going to also be in the spring rolling out a brand new logo too. We're trying to make everything look nice. And I want to give Jeannie props for that. We got that for free. She had the idea of calling a design school in the city, and their class project for the whole semester was to make us a logo. And they gave us a whole bunch of choices, and then we got to pick one. We had Bill Coffey, one of our trustees, on the committee since he's been in the publishing industry for many years. And it was great. We had all these great choices, and we'll be rolling that out in the spring.
So what questions can we answer for you? Not real fast. Yes?
Jean, on the one, thank you very much for coming and presenting. Very nice to hear more about it. Have you ever tried access through the cable to tell more about the library and the services that are available?
We do have a show on the cable. Noelle does a show for the high school. She does our YA librarian does a not regular, teen librarian, sorry. Our teen librarian does a show where she talks about books, but we've talked about putting our board meetings on cable and about having it, but we run into resistance in that we're not hooked up at the library to do it. We'd have to come here to do it because this room is done. So we've talked about possibly having larger meetings here to do that. But we like that the meetings are in the library because then,
I was thinking more about just talking about the services.
Promoting the services of the library. Yeah, it's something we haven't really considered, but we do have a relatively new PR and marketing coordinator. One of the 5 initiatives in the strategic plan is create awareness, and that's awareness about our services and programs. We know we have a lot of great things going on. We're not sure the rest of the community always knows about them. So that's a really good idea.
You had mentioned video, or that you're looking to record cameras.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
In the parking lot.
Security
Have you
cameras.
run into issues? Or?
We have had a number of issues.
Let's
If
see.
you're a regular reader of the police blotter, you would know.
Well, the first one was someone backed into our, let's start back there.
Right.
Someone,
Somebody backed-
somehow, it's one way when you return books, and I came right after it happened. I didn't see the person, it was like a few minutes later, backed into our audiovisual return box.
And then drove away.
And so we don't know who that was. And then we had a real,
We had a number of things. We've had rose bushes stolen.
Yes.
People literally dug up rose bushes.
they did.
Shortly thereafter, some brick pavers that were in our enclosed storage area were stolen. So we figure somebody has a nice patio with rose bushes around it somewhere.
We've locked those up now.
We've had some graffiti on the south side. You know, we have a smaller parking lot on the south side, and along the building there's some congregation of teens that we'd like to discourage. We've had some graffiti in there. And just over Christmas, we had someone drive into the parking lot, over the curb, and knock the fence down.
For the neighbors. It was on Christmas Eve day, because I got the call, because I know them, the neighbors, and literally the fence was in their yard. They couldn't get out their back door. Thankfully, our maintenance person lives in LaGrange Park or LaGrange Highlands, and he was able to come in and prop. Oh, in LaGrange. Oh, I thought it was Highlands. So he lives in LaGrange, and he was able to prop it up on Christmas Eve. But he did it because we couldn't get anybody out for a couple days.
And that's, all of those happened in the past year and a half. I mean, it's not like a sudden rash, and they're all sort of unrelated.
But we don't
we've
have
had
anything out
enough
there.
things that would have been nice to be able, if nothing else, as a deterrent to as I say, congregating, graffiti, and that kind of thing, digging up roses.
And that one was weird. That was.
We do that all the time. I am on the Grange Garden Club. We
Okay.
come into the spring, we lose them all the time.
Well, and what was most surprising about it was that they'd been there a year and a half. They weren't newly planted. They really had dug in roots, and this required a lot of work. Yeah. So,
Still a new one.
okay, what other questions did you have, Katie?
You had mentioned the internet. I remember reading about this in the paper, and I don't recall whatever happened when there was some inappropriate use of
Oh,
the
sure.
internet.
We worked really hard on, first of all, the librarian's job is not to babysit the people using the computer, but we worked really hard to change our policy, our behavior policy, so that, and Jeannie, correct me if I'm wrong, but our behavior policy now states anything you do in the library that is disruptive to others, and if somebody sees you looking at something inappropriate on the internet, that would be it. And as long as somebody says something to the librarians, that person, then there's a procedure. What is the procedure? There's like a,
We basically tell them cease and desist, or you can leave the library.
and then there's like, and then they're, can be kicked out, and then there's all these, ramifications, and it keeps happening.
Right.
But we didn't want to just make the policy just about the internet, because it's, the idea is that it was disruptive to people. And now we have, we really worked on our behavior policy in the last year. In fact, when Jeannie came in, that was one of the first things she did. She said, okay, guys, we're looking at every single policy. Sorry, but we
A lot
are.
of them hadn't been looked at in many years.
And it was
so-
great for us as education because we were forced to read all the policies again. And behavior was one we worked very hard on. And I think the problems have been less now that we've been stricter about.
We're still working on it.
Yeah, I know,
A few issues we know about, but we're working on